These are the colors I'm going to work with. Primary yellow, a primary blue, which is phthalo blue, and a primary red. And I highly recommend you to do this color wheel with your own yellow, red, and blue, whatever paints you are going to use, so you know exactly what are the intermediate mixtures between that yellow and that red, the one that you are using, not the one that I use. So if I were to use a different red, let's say this permanent rose for my red, then those oranges as well as these purples would be vastly different. If I use a warm, darker cadmium yellow, then these oranges and these greens would be vastly different as well. So it's important that you start working first with your own three colors and figure out what they are capable of, as well as just dab around a little bit of a titanium white and figure out what those lighter tints can do for you, what they would feel like, look like, so that you can work them into your painting. Now this is my primary reference. I'm going to show you what else I want to work with. This is a study I've done starting to work on my lap in the car as we were driving past this field. And then I went on top of my watercolors, my original watercolors, with a little bit of pastels at home, just to get a bit more out of it. So you see what I'm after. This is what I call inspiration. It's just a silly little, very basic sketchbook. It's not even watercolor paper. In fact, it's falling apart because I'm using it as a watercolor sketchbook. I wouldn't recommend it, but anyway, this is something I can run around with, and it will be one of my reference points for this painting. A few other, this one is a study on a flimsy little piece of paper by the lake around sunset time when part of the sky was lit. It was ablaze, orange clouds, everything just gorgeous. And the distant mountains were going from blue to purple, and everything in the foreground had this very nice warm, these lovely warm greens. As you can see, I haven't gone mad completely, but you might see that the shadowy side of that green poplar is painted with red. You can use out of this world colors. When you paint an impressionistic artwork, you are not after a fiddly, boring, realistic look. This is something I've done by the lakeside, and after that I've done this. And this is where I felt like this is actually beginning to really look like, beginning to feel like how I felt and how that whole scenery, that lovely mountainside with the trees in the front just by the lake, what was the atmosphere like. Then walking around, those are some almond trees with a field that was pretty much scorched by the sun. Then some of these blues, they are not really blue, but of course the green when it's in the shadow. Some of those grasses that were still green and they were in the shadow, I would paint them with almost pure blue. So any hint of a color that I see, I would put it on my as strong as possible. I would use strong colors because these are the inspiration that I can refer back to when I start painting with acrylics, which is what this one is about. Yeah, this one is going to be another one of this I will be referring back to that, as well as this was just very quick, like I was standing there and wanted to capture some of the local weeds blossoming in the field. I just stood there and maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I just dotted down all the colors because this is a reference for me of what type of flowers, what type of colors, what type of patterns I'm after when I want to create that foreground for this painting. So I will be referring back to these various studies as well as that one. I really love the red mountainside. Let's start. So my yellow is basically done. So I'm going to pick it up with my knife, just scrape it out of the tube, and then the other side. So when you think that your tube is basically gone, don't throw it out yet, just cut it in half and you can still paint with it. There is at least one painting's worth of color in that tube. Okay, my primary red and my primary blue or phthalo blue. And finally, my white. So these are the three colors I work with, and this is what they look like when you create your color wheel with your primary colors to start with. You don't wash your knife, you just wipe it. So I will refer back to this. This is a painting I've done before. We are going to attempt something similar, and I'm just going to walk you through the whole process very quickly so you can start painting very fast. This is my watercolor paper. It's 350 grams per square meter. I have a few splashes on it, but who cares? First, I start with some water on it because I want to... There has to be a base layer to work with. So I'm gonna grab my brush. This is a fairly wide brush. You can work with an even wider one. Other times I use a sponge, a very simple kitchen sponge, which is just fine as well. First, I will mix my background color. So this is when I start painting. Until now, I was pondering, I was preparing, I was making decisions about what to paint, what colors to use, which pigments, which paints to really pick to start with, and also what mood I'm after. Notice I don't just refer back to one single photo. That's how you kill an artwork, is by painting from a photograph. But I was immersing my mind, my heart, trying to recall all the memories of how it felt like, what I was doing as I was doing those sketches out in the field. Some of them were in locations adjacent to the actual place that I'm painting, and others were the same fields and mountains but at a different time of the day. But all of it is just information that makes it three-dimensional. Before you start doing an artwork, is you immerse yourself in that scene, in that field. So all the time you spend pondering, deciding, looking over your studies, maybe even photographs, but it's much better to work from your colorful studies that are, you didn't care because it was just a sketch. Who cares? It was on a flimsy piece of paper. So you were much bolder in your choice of colors, and also because you were constrained by time. So if it was slightly pinkish, you might have done like a big blast of a red mark on the paper. Now all this will make you bolder. It will make you more expressive when you choose colors for an actual painting project. If you're interested in learning how to do this particular, I actually recorded the entire painting session for you, where you might want to paint along with me. I put the link, so the next video following this one will take you right there. And let me know how you get on with this. Make sure that you think about what you want to paint, what colors you choose. Pick a good knife or maybe just an old card and crack on with it.